Next, from Chicago, Governor Rauner, accompanied by state legislators and several entrepreneurs, holds a press conference to unveil a program to help minority and female entrepreneurs. This runs about 35 minutes.
You know, the single most important thing we can do is create economic opportunity, equal opportunity for everybody in the state of Illinois. Our biggest challenge, we have many challenges, but our biggest challenge is lack of opportunity. We've got to change that. We're making some strides in the startup community in Chicago and in certain other communities around the state, trying to encourage entrepreneurs to start businesses and build businesses. And as a 32-year venture capitalist, I think I would give our efforts so far a marginally passing grade. We're making some progress, but it's very slow. And where we have made woeful progress, and I would argue just outrageously disappointing progress, is to create entrepreneurial opportunities in minority communities. We're failing. I just saw a report. I encourage you to look it up for those of you in the media. I just saw a report a few days ago that indicated of the 10 worst communities for African Americans in America, the 10 worst communities, 4 of them are in Illinois. That's an outrage. And I don't hear any members of in the General Assembly talking about it. They should be. We're failing. Those 4 communities are Chicago, Kankakee, Rockford, and Peoria. But we're failing in multiple places. And we and many of you in the media have been talking with me, we're failing in Chicago. Chicago stands out in that, failing in so many regards, failing on public safety, failing on education, failing on jobs in the neighborhoods, failing on taxes, failing on reforms. But one of the most frustrating things for me is the failure of creating businesses and opportunities and growth in all the neighborhoods, especially in minority neighborhoods. If we can change that dynamic, we will fundamentally change the opportunities available for people in our state. That's what today is about. A year ago, I signed an executive order to encourage our state government to find ways to create opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses, to make sure that access inside state government for contracts and employment, to review the apprenticeship training programs for people who contract, for companies that contract with the state government, to look at people who provide services to state government and make sure that their workforces and their training programs reflect the diversity of the communities that they work in and that they come from. This today is part of our process to make sure everyone in the state of Illinois has equal opportunity to participate in the economic progress in the future, to help make the American dream come alive for everyone in every community. Today, we are announcing the formation of a new program, a new initiative. The initials are ADME. I won't today, get into how I'm trying to change our naming system, which is this is something that we call it Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. It's too many words, but this is an initiative of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. We have 2 leaders in the Department of Commerce who are leading the effort, Jimmy Odom and Julio Rodriguez. Everyone else in this initiative is a volunteer from around the state of Illinois. Entrepreneurs, bankers, consultants, business advisors. And this initiative will take no incremental cost to Illinois taxpayers. This is not another new department. This is not another consumer of taxpayer from Illinois money. This is an initiative started by our Department of Commerce, but it is being driven by leaders in the local communities. And the first 3 communities we are going to locate this initiative are Chicago, Rockford, and Peoria. And then we hope to take this statewide in the coming months. And this initiative is to create the ecosystem for success in business. As a venture capitalist, I help finance more than 400 companies. And the key to success, people say, well, you need money, or you need training. You need both of those things, but you really need a support system, an infrastructure, a place to go to get advice, feedback, concern, criticism, and here's the key, introductions. See, one of the reasons minority entrepreneurs have struggled to succeed is they don't have the relationships that others in the broader business community have. Lifelong relationships, personal relationships that have built from prior business success to get the introductions and have the relationships that lead to financing, that lead to advice and feedback and support. We want to jumpstart the process of creating an ecosystem, a support structure for minority businesses, African American businesses, Latino businesses, Asian businesses, women businesses in our neighborhoods, done by members in the neighborhoods who have already been successful in business, who are lenders, who are entrepreneurs, and who have the relationships now, but they're scattered and they're doing things on a one-off basis. We want to be a one-stop shop where an entrepreneur can come and get the introductions for financing, for mentorships, for training, for board members, for support, for recruiting executives to join the team, because success is all about building a talented team of executives to drive a result. We need a place for entrepreneurs to go, to get the help to drive their vision to reality, create businesses that create jobs and create great incomes. That's what this is about. Doesn't cost a lot of incremental taxpayer money. That's not what this needs. This needs an ecosystem of introductions and relationships. This is being driven by a great entrepreneur named Jimmy Odom. I'm going to turn the podium over to Jimmy in just a second. He's a successful entrepreneur. His company, We Deliver, was sold, built it over several years and sold it to a Silicon Valley startup. He made some money, very successful. He knows what it took to succeed. He is driving this process. He and one other partner inside the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity have reached out to other entrepreneurs and other financiers here in Chicago, in other communities, to start this initiative and begin the process of creating this ecosystem, one-stop shop for entrepreneurs and people who would like to build businesses in our minority communities. With that, I'll turn the podium over to Jimmy Odom and some of the other folks here today. Jimmy?
Listen, starting a company is difficult. Growing one is no easier. Now imagine doing that alone, right? Not having the benefits of a formalized education, without access to the capital necessary to continue your growth trajectories, or without that robust mentorship and advisory network, which are capable of facilitating those necessary introductions you need to get to that next level. An already difficult process becomes even more difficult. Historically, this has been the experience for many minority entrepreneurs. I definitely experienced those myself when growing my company. ADME is a way for Illinois to start addressing those challenges. It's an incubation and education program specifically curated for minority entrepreneurs, engineered to develop an ecosystem, a community surrounding the entrepreneurs and their organizations. We focus on 4 key areas. Talent identification. If you are an African American, Latino American, Asian American, or a woman entrepreneur within the various regions, we urge you to apply. Secondly, we talk about education. ADME will be taking the program participants through a holistic educational curriculum, focus of which is to give the foundational knowledge necessary for any entrepreneur to be successful. Third, and probably the most important, is the mentorship and advisement. ADME, similar to the council members that we have behind us, will be looking to facilitate those necessary introductions that are specific to both the entrepreneur as well as the company in which they own. And then lastly is that funding piece. Because we see access to funding as a critical piece in the success of an organization, the Department of Commerce, in partnership with our private financial institutions like U.S. Bank, like Axion, and other local community banks, we will be setting aside capital with favorable terms for the program's participants. This is a platform in which we will get you in front of those organizations that are capable of loaning your business the capital to get you to that next level. As the governor mentioned, we're going to be piloting this in 3 regions. We've got Chicago, Rockford, and Peoria. Now, applications will begin opening in spring of 2016, and I truly urge each and every region to apply. If you believe your company needs that kickstart to get to the next level, or you've got that idea that you believe is capable of changing your local community, we want to see you as a potential applicant. Now, this is merely a step in the commitment towards making sure we increase diversity amongst the profile of our business leadership. It's definitely, to me, a sign that Illinois is headed in the right direction and capable of making an impact in the communities in which we're referring to.
Good afternoon. I'm Kenny Duncan, Illinois State Representative for the 5th District. My district covers Division and LaSalle Street up to Michigan Avenue through 79th and Paxson, which is east of Jeffrey, literally from the Gold Coast to the Soul Coast. Part of the challenges that we've been hearing and having here in our state, in our city in particular, in the black community and the Latino community, has really been about or directly related to economic development. The biggest difference between the black community and the white community is access to capital, to jobs, and those relationships and that support, as has been mentioned before. And so I'm standing with the governor and this new program at DCO and this new announcement of us really moving into the 21st century. If you want to make sure communities are educated, that they're not left behind, they need an opportunity. We need an opportunity here in this city and state to work. And to have the government, the state government, buttress some of these young, burgeoning organizations, these not-for-profit small companies that are trying to find their way through, that's the best role that the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity should be about. And that's what I support. It's high time that we close the chasm between the black and brown and the white access to bank capital, access to the technical support that the state can facilitate. Our state gives or loans or allows to sit billions of dollars in some of these state banks, some of these financial institutions. There should be a connection between businesses that are developing, that are emerging into this new century, and those banks. This program simply is going to complement some of these small businesses that often come in politicians' office looking for support because they just don't know. And unfortunately, many of us politicians don't know. But it's important for us to talk with the smaller businesses, these entrepreneurial businesses, these successful mid-range level business, and these superior businesses that are doing tremendously well. So the facilitation is going to be critical for us. Subsidies are wonderful for our communities, but job growth, business expansion is everything. It makes all the difference in the world. Lastly, I grew up in Cabrini Green. What was unique about Cabrini Green compared to Altgeld Gardens, Robert Taylor, or LeClaire Courts, or some of these other projects was that they were isolated from business, commerce, traffic. Me seeing what I saw growing up in the projects, I really didn't realize that our socioeconomic status until really 8th grade, 9th grade through high school. But we were uniquely situated in the projects, and Cabrini Green in particular, around a robust economy. And so it inspired people like me to go to college and others that I grew up with to start their own business. But every community is not fortunate. Those in Rockford, those in Peoria, in Southeast Springfield, Kankakee, we simply need to reach deep in these communities and deal with this isolated poverty that impacts our particular community. Crime is directly related to lack of opportunity and an inferior education. So that's why I support this program. It's high time that we stay focused on building business development. I've been screaming and lobbying and advocating for a decade and some change down in Springfield about making the connection with state government, with the private sector, and what it is that we need to do to marry an economic development in our particular communities. Thank you and good morning.
So I want to turn it over to some of our council members, which be capable of explaining maybe why they've chosen to volunteer their time, as well as to give context around their particular involvement. So I'm going to turn it over to George, who's a successful entrepreneur himself.
Jimmy, thank you. Today was an important day for me for a couple of reasons. And Governor, thank you for taking this on, building a platform and recognizing what I'll call is just potential. Born and raised in Pilsen, CPS schools, Chicago Park districts, opened a handful of companies, and I'm actually in the middle of an acquisition as we speak. I'm here because I want to be able to give the weaknesses that we see and how, or the weaknesses within the resources we currently have. This program provides access. It provides more than that. It provides a vehicle for us to really see or be competitive in a category that we've usually been forgotten. This will allow us to accelerate our current position and really find the potential that we've had for so long in every one of our communities. When you help build an entrepreneur in Pilsen or Humboldt Park or on the West Side, you actually change a community. You change the way he lives. You change the way his kids live. You change the way he sees tomorrow. You see he'll change the way people buy, the way they live, the way the community lives. He changes the economy. He changes his potential and everyone else around him. I thank the governor because without a platform in place, we can't see that potential. I fought too hard and too long to find things out with no resources other than what was local by great organizations like the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I see Omar Duque back there. And so many others like 1871. Guys who've come to the table to say, let us support. But the governor can lay a platform down that really changes the way communities will live across this state. And I'm testifying that it's required in order to be successful. It's required in order to grow. So I'm here to support this initiative because I believe in it and I want to find the weaknesses to make them strengths so we can succeed. Thank you.
I'm going to have Denise Moore from Peoria. We've talked about it a few times, but Denise, from your perspective, I'd love to hear what your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Jimmy. As Jimmy indicated, my name is Denise Moore, and in addition to being a city council member on the Peoria City Council, I represent a district that includes Caterpillar on the one side and some of the poorest areas in the city on the other side. I'm also the executive director of the Black Business Alliance, a nonprofit organization that I founded 18 years ago to address the consistent lack of opportunity and access to information, to resources, and funding by aspiring minority business owners. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to contribute to the advancement of minority entrepreneurs. For many years now, my focus has been to educate people in Central Illinois on topics necessary to successfully run their business. But it's not only minority community which benefits from increasing the diverse landscape of business ownership. Each of us who participate in this now global economy will be able to tap into the rich diversity that is our entire community. The most recent census data indicate that the number of African American businesses in Peoria is so small, it only registers as a footnote, not a number, but a footnote. The 2008 through 2013 collection of business data was depressing, to say the least. We have the power to change that now. Also, census data revealed that in several predominantly African American zip codes in Peoria, the unemployment rate in the African American community is greater than 30%. The city unemployment rate is at 6.6%. We can change that. And as the governor alluded to, the Wall Street report, 24/7 report, indicated that Peoria ranks sixth as the sixth worst place in America to be an African American. We can change that now. The Advancing the Development of Minority Entrepreneurship Council has a perfect acronym, ADME. Since the efforts of this council will be focused on adding more folks who look like me to the ranks of business entrepreneurs. I believe the issue that makes this council necessary are basically the same in each of our communities in Rockford, in Chicago, and in Peoria. So it is my plan to learn and share best practices with each council member. I want to thank Governor Rauner for launching this initiative, and I commit Peoria to being an active participant in helping this initiative to be successful. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. And capital is so important to the success of a growing company, no matter who it's run by. And without our financial partners, this wouldn't be possible. So I'd love to turn it over to Eva. Where's she? Okay, perfect. I was like, where's Eva? Who will give a perspective from U.S. Bank.
So thank you, Jimmy and Governor Rauner, for the opportunity to take part in this exciting announcement. As a banker, I've worked with many entrepreneurs with great ideas and an iron-strong work ethic and a deep passion to chart their own course in life. The only thing they lacked was money. As much as we would like to be able to invest in every single entrepreneur we meet, there simply aren't enough funds to satisfy those needs, and that's especially true for minorities. That's why I'm excited for U.S. Bank to join this minority entrepreneurship initiative, which will help minorities access expertise, training, mentoring, connections, networks, and eventually the capital to get their business started or growing. This program will pave the road and enable lenders like U.S. Bank to help entrepreneurs make that critical leap beyond the seed stage to larger traditional loans that will enable them to sustain and grow their businesses. As a member of the ADME Council, I welcome the opportunity to bring real-world banking perspective to this effort and make this program truly work. Our bankers in Rockford, Chicago, and Peoria will be working one-on-one with entrepreneurs to help them prepare for the rigors of being business owners, as well as helping them keep an eye on building their companies for long-term success. We just honored the life of Dr. King and celebrated his legacy, giving hope and realizing dreams for America's minorities. I hope to stand here before you a year from now saying that our pilot is complete and we're a giant step closer to helping people of color in Illinois realize their dreams of economic freedom. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Thank you, everybody. I would like to open it up for questions for me, but also especially for an entire council. This is only part of the council that we're creating. Again, these are volunteers who are parting with their time to help create the ecosystem. This could happen over 20 years through a natural process. Maybe. We want to jumpstart the process and create a supportive ecosystem right now. One place you can call and get the introductions and take advantage of the relationships that have been built in the past. That takes time to create. We want to jumpstart it now. These are the volunteers and many others, and you've got, I think, the list of folks who are volunteering. Leaders in their communities who've been successful, have the relationships, training, mentors, recruiting, education, financing, support. That takes time to build. We don't want to wait. Every day matters. We want it now, not 20 years from now. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us how this is going to work? Like you say apply, are there going to be offices in these cities? Like,
Yeah.
how will small businesses be able to...
Jimmy, want?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one of the ways we think about doing this, I'm an entrepreneur, and I think like an entrepreneur, meaning that minimum viable product. What's the smallest way that you could run the program without necessarily using as many resources as you would want to? And one of the ways we do that is by being agile. So each region will look at partnering with a local community organization that already has that infrastructure that you're not reinvesting. So that may be a local community church. That may be a public facility. It could be in Chicago, 1871, or the like, Blue 1647. Any of those community organizations that have that infrastructure, which is the brick and mortar place that they can assemble to receive that facilitation of the curriculum, we're open for leveraging that.
Good. So you want a place like House of Hope or 1871 to give you space to have meetings? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So not just meetings. When we talk about education, there's something to be received. So we went through Accelerate or Techstars here in Chicago, my company. Invaluable experience. And we want to provide that for other entrepreneurs that maybe this may be that first time building a company. And so you need that camaraderie that you assemble with other who have a like-minded vision of growing a successful company that look like you. And so that's what we'd be looking to partner with an organization like an 1871, like a Blue 1647 to house the program out of.
Yep. In every city?
Yeah, each one of the cities will have a community organization spot.
And just to be clear, is most of this for technology?
No. I think that's we were very purposeful when we talked about the council to steer entrepreneurs down one track so early, meaning technology or food and agriculture, could be a very large misstep. So we want to open it up to entrepreneurship. That way you don't know what type of entrepreneur that is within that community. That one 15 or 17-year-old girl on the south side of Peoria may know of the perfect company that should exist to help her community. But we wouldn't know that being in Chicago or being away from Rockford. We need to let them come to us first and foremost to then understand what are the entrepreneurship levels as well as what type of companies can come out of a program like this. So we're going to keep it really open in that way.
Ken Duncan, you've been around Springfield for some time. What's different about this? I mean, we've heard, different governors and people like yourself and others talk about economic development in the African American community in particular. What's different about this?
Well, first off, I think clearly you've had a successful governor who's in business compared to the other to prior governors, and the conversations that he and I have are exactly around this subject of economic development in the black community in particular, and really sort of closing that economic gap. What I see this is as a ramp towards expanding maybe into a stronger or better loan program, a bonding program for some of these small businesses that are trying to do some of this vertical construction or highway construction or compete on the market, especially if they're trying to go to a major corporation and they need to be at least educated. They need to maybe have some startup capital, just some assurance monies so they can be viable, or at least competitive at the onset. So I'm going to hold this governor's feet to the fire and see into it that this first step is added on as often as possible, per quarter, per month, whatever it takes to really close the gaps. Because I think people were that much more astute in terms of what's going on in our communities or what's not going on. And I'm telling you, the biggest issue is access to capital, access to information, how to put together a technical, competitive bid process. What's an RFQ? What's a real RFP? The people behind me know how to do that. There are other folk who are outside who really know how to do it. They're just not communicating. So the difference is going to be us putting some fire into this department and this administration and seeing to it that we try to leave as many stones, or not leave any stones unturned as possible. It's a work in progress. We got to keep it. Our community wasn't, Africa wasn't destroyed in a day either, right? So.
Can some of the entrepreneurs up there talk about the obstacles they faced when they were starting their business and how this program cut through that process?
Yep, sure. I would say there's a couple of obvious things. The culture didn't exist for me. There wasn't anyone to lean on to really ask questions like how you evaluate a cap table. What's my current position? What are the advantages to the other shareholders? What's my current valuation? What's an acquisition look like? These are real conversations that entrepreneurs have no idea how to handle. So placing a foundation in place by a governor who understands that, by a team that understands that, I think is the biggest difference. Culturally, we didn't have an environment like this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And we do now. And we're starting to become more competitive. This is happening at the right time to really launch the platform for us to move forward.
There's a U of I study out today that says Illinois' recent bond sale brought in $53 million less than if the state were in better fiscal shape. Was that a wise financial move?
I will answer that question. Let me first finish Charles's question, because Charles, you asked, I think, the most important question. So we hear about economic development in minority communities, for 50 years? I don't know. Longer? Nothing really changes too much. One of the reasons I love Jimmy is he's been there, done that, and he's not a bureaucrat. He's got no patience for bureaucracy, and he knows what it takes. And he didn't come, if I went to somebody in the government and said, you know what, let's try to create more economic growth in the minority neighborhoods in Chicago. They said, well, okay, let's get a few other bureaucrats and let's talk about it, and maybe we can ask the legislature for $10 million and maybe we'll study it and develop a department of economic growth in, Pullman, and nothing will happen. That's what's been going on for decades. Several people have said the key is access to capital. That's true, but you got to understand how capital is accessed, or you never get access to capital. If you go yourself, you've never been in business, you've never had a company, you don't have any relationships, and you call U.S. Bank, they might talk to you just to be polite. They probably won't, but they might, but you're not going anywhere. If you've been screened, If you've been given advice, if you've assembled a board and some mentors and a counselor and a couple other executives who've been there, done that, and you get an introduction to U.S. Bank, let me tell you, you are getting attention. I can't promise you you're getting a loan, but you are seriously in the game to get attention and get financing. That's not going on today, and that's what this is about. Okay? That's what this is about. Now, to your question, could you repeat?
There's a U of I study out today that says the recent bond sale brought in $53 million less than if the state were in better financial shape. And was that a wise financial move?
Well, the market's the market. You know what? Most people said we either couldn't go to market or they said we're going to pay a really high interest rate. Well, you know what? We got a lower interest rate right now than what they got the last time they went to market. And we got a worse, in theory, we got a worse crisis. You know what the market says? You know what bondholders say to me? Governor, you're on the right track. You're cleaning up that mess. So you know what? So the market's the market. We've got to continue to try to grow our economy, and we need infrastructure or we can't grow our economy, and the bonds are appropriate. What wouldn't be appropriate is to go to the bond market to borrow to cover the deficit. What is very appropriate is to go to the bond market to cover long-term investment into infrastructure to grow our economy. Now let me ask a question, because I want to ask a favor. I want to answer everybody's questions, but I really want to pay respect to what we're talking about here today. So focus on this for now, and as soon as we've exhausted the questions on this initiative, I'll go deep on whatever you want to, rough up with me on. So that's, yes.
You talk about having been a venture capitalist for 30 years. Can you be candid about why those capitalists have not ventured into the hood before now?
It's higher risk. It's higher risk. The risk-return trade-off isn't as favorable as going right back to Silicon Valley again. That's why. That's a fact. We want to change the risk profile by this initiative. That's what we're trying to do.
There was a mention of a funding component of this. Can you explain what that is?
I'm sorry,
how
could
that works, the funding component? There are 4 things, and one of them was funding.
Financing. So so these folks on the council, they know the folks at 1871. They know the venture capitalists. They're personal friends. They've had success. They're trusted. They know the lenders who might lend here. Some I know, most I don't. But this is all about an ecosystem of relationships. See, we're jump-starting minority entrepreneurs into the web, into not the internet web, the web of business relationships that gets transactions done. Minorities have been in the web. They haven't been in the network. You call it the old boys network or whatever you want. It's relationships of past success that drives future success. We got to jumpstart minority entrepreneurs into that web and that network. That's what this is about.
Is there any state money involved in
No. No, not so far. I am a believer, as I said. I helped with the federal government's Minority Enterprise Small Business Investment Company program. That's not what this is. I hope someday to have that pipe be. I got a lot of challenges for the financial condition of Illinois. I'll get there. This is about, I think this is frankly the most important thing we can do. The relationships, because there's money around. There is capital available. And I'm a believer the best capital comes from the private sector, not from government. But we've got to get minorities in the web of success, in that network of success.